Good afternoon and welcome inside another edition of That's What I Think with Brandon Swanson. I'm your fearless host, Brandon Swanson, and really happy to be back again this week. This is 2 weeks in a row, and we're talking about a big controversial topic. It is the new NFL National Anthem kneeling policy. Yes, the NFL has literally gone out of its way to make a new policy that specifically targets what we saw all last season and into 2016, this kneeling during the national anthem. It's become a big thing. And this is exactly what the NFL has done about it. Players, coaches, and officials will stand when they're on the field for the anthem, if they're on the field. Players do have the option, however, to remain in the locker room if they prefer. Teams will be fined if players or personnel don't show respect for the anthem, including any attempt to sit or to kneel. Players also could be flagged a 15-yard unsportsmanlike penalty if they are sitting or sitting or kneeling for the anthem. If you are on the field, you're a player, you're a coach, you're an official, you have to be standing for the national anthem. That is the new rule. However, this comes after zero input from the players and truly no official vote. They asked everyone to raise their hand. That's not how they usually vote in these owners' meetings. They don't just casually raise their hand. Yeah, man, that sounds good. They don't do that usually, but they did for this. They did for this. So there was a lot of reaction from players, from coaches, from officials, and a couple of the people, Chris Long, Malcolm Jenkins from the Eagles, both voiced their concerns, but also said it wouldn't silence them. It would not silence them from doing what they're trying to do, which is strive for equality nationwide. Doug Baldwin said he was unsurprised by the move. He said the NFL will always watch out for the NFL. That's all they're ever caring about. Artie Burns from the Steelers said, "You talk about bullying, man. That's bullying." So a lot of players had a lot of different reactions to this. Even Steve Kerr over in the NBA says, this is typical and idiotic of the NFL. So this isn't just affecting, just like when Colin Kaepernick first knelt back in 2016, it didn't just affect NFL players. It didn't just affect players. It affected families, people, homes, regular Joes and Jazz. That's the female version. But that's the thing, is that it did what Colin Kaepernick wanted it to do. It started the nationwide conversation. And yes, it also got people very, very upset, and it led to President Donald Trump making some comments during a speech that had nothing to do with that. But as he does, he went offhanded and made some comments about the kneeling for the national anthem in the NFL, and that sparked even more controversy. But now, President Trump is very happy with what the NFL is doing. You know, I think that there's more to be done here. There's more to be done here because the NFL has enacted a rule that is going to force players, many against their will if they're on the field, to stand for the national anthem. Now, here's my point. Since I was a young tot, I was always told to stand for the national anthem. We stood for the Pledge of Allegiance in school. We stand for the national anthem at all sporting events. We do that because I was told when I was younger, and have always been told up to this point in my life, that we do it to honor our military men and women. We do it to honor our veterans who have fought for us, who have fought for our freedom. And that's why we stand. So I would never try and be disingenuous for that or protest that. As many, if not all, NFL players have said, we're not protesting this anthem. We're protesting injustice in the world. I certainly stand with you and stand with you against injustice, but I just do it at a different time and a different place. I don't need to do it during the national anthem. I don't need to do it then. I don't want to do it then. That's not necessarily for me where I feel like the bigger conversation gets started. The bigger conversation, which it did get started, it did get started because of Colin Kaepernick doing it then. So it did work. But it happens in the communities. It happens in the communities where it's taking place. That's where we need to have the conversations. But we need to do it together. NFL and players together. Now, Roger Goodell, I do believe this past spring or this past winter, went into some of the communities with Malcolm Jenkins to do some collaborative efforts. I believe that happened. More of that needs to happen now. More of that needs to happen now. We want to have a bigger audience for this. We want to have a bigger stage for this to show that injustice is wrong and we're trying to work and fight against it. I just don't think that at the national anthem that was the best move, because so many people in the country, especially these days, are very uptight about things political. And that's exactly what it did. And I understand that what you need to do is sometimes you have to have the uncomfortable conversations. Those are the ones that are meaningful most of the time. The uncomfortable ones. It's easy to sit down, have a cup of coffee and shoot the shit and mean really nothing, have no meaning behind what you're saying. But it's very difficult, but it's also worthwhile to sit down and talk about issues. To sit down and talk about issues. So I'm not the biggest fan of Colin Kaepernick. But I think that he was onto something. I think that he really, truly thought it out more than people believed him to. He got a lot of people talking. But now we need a lot of people in action. Otherwise, everything that he did, all the fighting that we've done back and forth amongst peers and friends and family members is for naught. And we're not supposed to be fighting. We're all supposed to be against injustice. We are. We are supposed to be. And we need to show that. We need to stand up and be against it. And I think that when we're looking on the bigger stage with the NFL, with the players, and you can even look at NBA and the players, MLB and the players, all of the sports and their players. They all need to come together, work together, go into the communities together. That's what they want. That's what the players want to do. They just want to see that the NFL is willing to do it with them. To this point, not a whole lot. Not a whole lot. But strides can still be made. We can still do it. The NFL doing what they did now with the national anthem, forcing players to do that, forcing players, team officials, coaches to all stand when on the field or just stay in the locker room. I think we're going to see a whole lot more people staying in the locker room, and that may continue to piss off a whole lot more people than what it ever did before. The NFL is trying to come back from a terrible season rating-wise. That's why they're doing this. If a player is confused, what Doug Baldwin said is 100% right. The NFL will always look out for the NFL, and that's what they're doing. Not because necessarily they believe in what they're doing. They believe that their players need to be standing for the national anthem, but they do believe that they have to make a whole hell of a lot of money. And they saw their pockets not go as deep last season. So the NFL, they've made a move, and we are going to see just exactly how that works out this season. And that's what I think this week, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Really enjoyed you coming back again this week to watch again talking again about the NFL and their new rule and policy change and how that's going to work this next year. It's going to be really interesting. We are going to be back again next week, same time, same place, 2 Central, 3 Eastern, and 12 Pacific. Have a great rest of your week. Have a wonderful, long Memorial Day weekend. So long.